Today we will be talking about one of the most perplexing unsolved mysteries in recent history, the case of the West Mesa Bone Collector. This gruesome discovery in Albuquerque, New Mexico has left authorities and the public searching for answers for over a decade. The discovery of 11 bodies sent shockwaves through the Albuquerque community. Families of the victims who had long hoped for answers were devastated by the confirmation of their worst fears. Welcome to our channel, where we talk all things true crime. This video is for educational purposes. Let's get started. On February 2nd, 2009, a woman named Christine was walking her dog on West Mesa in the Albuquerque desert. Her dog alerted her to a bone protruding from the trail. Christine didn't think the bone looked normal, so she texted a picture of it to her sister, who was a registered nurse. Her sister told her the bone looked like a human femur. Christine called the police. The bone was determined to be human. Over the following weeks, detectives uncovered the skeletal remains of 11 women and one unborn child, all buried in makeshift graves. This grim scene shocked the community and attracted nationwide attention.
February 2nd, 2009, a woman walking her dog in southwest Albuquerque discovered a bone. It led to the uncovering of the bodies of 11 women and one fetus, buried near 118th Street in southwest Albuquerque.
Forensic investigators identified all 11 victims by 2010 through various processes, including sketches, dental records, and DNA evidence. 10 of the 11 women were known to be involved in drugs and sex work. All were last seen between 2003 and 2005 and were reported missing. Their disappearances were not immediately linked due to their high-risk lifestyles. Cause of death is listed as homicidal violence. They were all believed to be strangled. There was no evidence that they were shot or suffered any blunt force trauma. The victims were identified as 15-year-old Jamie Barella, 22-year-old Monica Candelaria, 26-year-old Victoria Chavez, 24-year-old Virginia Cloven, 15-year-old Selania Edwards, 27-year-old Doreen Marquis, 24-year-old Julie Nito, 28-year-old Veronica Romero, 27-year-old Evelyn Salazar, 32-year-old Cinnamon Elks, and 22-year-old Michelle Valdez. Michelle was pregnant at the time of her disappearance.
I think it's important for people to know that of all the remains that were found here, that there were no injuries that the Office of Medical Investigator or the forensic anthropologist could identify. For example, these women weren't shot. There was no evidence that they were shot and killed, or blunt force trauma, that kind of thing. And so this complicates the case and makes it a little harder to solve because we don't have these clear indicators of what actually caused their deaths.
The investigation faced numerous challenges from the start. The vast open area of the West Mesa made it difficult to conduct a thorough search. The decomposition of the remains further complicated the identification process. Many of the victims were reported missing years before their bodies were discovered, which means that crucial evidence had long since deteriorated or disappeared. Several suspects have been interrogated over the years. The main suspects being Lorenzo Montoya, Joseph Blea, and Fred Reynolds. Montoya was a local man with a history of violence against women. Montoya was killed in 2006 during a violent confrontation with a woman he had brought to his home. A fight ensued between the two, and she killed him. The timing of his death and the cessation of the murders has led to some speculation that he could be the West Mesa Bone Collector. Blea was known as the middle school rapist. In the 80s and 90s, he had attacked middle school girls. He was active in the same area where the victims disappeared, and was in the vicinity during the time the women went missing. Reynolds was a local pimp who knew many of the victims and had photographs of missing women. He died in January 2009, just before the remains were discovered. Despite these leads, the lack of concrete evidence has prevented authorities from charging any individual with the crimes.
Focus sometimes being on, it's the high-risk lifestyle. How about we focus on the person that's perpetrating them? This is somebody who had access to the women. This is somebody who was very comfortable with the place that he buried the girls, had concealment. It's somebody who preys, who's out there, who's a predator, They know that a lot of times that the girls aren't reported missing right away. They know they're very vulnerable because they're addicted to their drug and they're desperate to make their money. And so it's somebody who takes advantage of that.
Numerous theories have emerged over the years regarding the identity of the West Mesa Bone Collector. Some believe it was a single predator operating in the shadows, while others speculated about the possibility of a network of individuals involved in trafficking. Some believe that the killer moved on from the area years before the discovery and could still be out there. Due to the lack of evidence, none of these theories have been conclusively proven.
This case has deeply impacted the community. There's an ongoing call for justice. Continued media coverage helps to ensure that the case remains a priority for law enforcement and the community. Advanced forensic technology has provided new avenues for investigation. Unfortunately, as of now, these advancements have yet to yield a breakthrough in the case. As the technology evolves, there is the potential to uncover new evidence or link existing evidence to a suspect.
The 118th Street Task Force is a dedicated task force established to solely focus on the West Mesa murders. There is a commitment of law enforcement to solve this case and bring closure to the victims' families. The Albuquerque Police Department and the FBI continues to investigate the case. They regularly review old evidence and follow up on new leads. If you have any information about the West Mesa murders, no matter how insignificant it may be, please call the task force at 1-877-765-8273 or Crime Stoppers at 505-843-STOP. The search for the truth continues with the hopes that the West Mesa Bone Collector will be brought to justice.
So what do we think?
I'm glad that they've been able to identify the victims at least.
I am too. I know it took them a little bit, not too terribly long, honestly, because they were discovered in February of 2009, and then by 2010, they had them all identified.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Most of the suspects are dead.
Yeah, there's not enough evidence to tie them to it. And I don't really know what type of evidence they would need to tie them. There doesn't seem to be any eyewitnesses.
No, being out like that probably far and then being in that type of environment. I don't know if you've ever been to a desert. It's kind of a harsh climate.
Yeah.
And then with the sand.
Because you went to New Mexico.
New Mexico, and I lived in El Paso.
Oh, that's right, yeah. I had heard of this case, but not a lot of information. Going through and researching, obviously I learned a lot more. But it always bothers me when it's not solved.
Yeah, I like the cases that are solved just because there's that closure and a sense of justice. And
Absolutely.
This one's scary because there was 11 victims.
Mm-hmm.
And then
the unborn child.
Yes.
But this person could be out there.
Yes.
Some of the different theories and speculations, or it could have been a network of people and they moved on to another area and maybe they're not burying the bodies now. Maybe, you know what I mean?
It's like a different place possibly that they're doing it.
Yeah. I know they spent weeks combing through it because initially they just thought, there was just the one femur bone sticking up because that lady's dog, I guess, was over there digging or whatever.
You have to think, that's kind of rare for that to happen anyways, that the dog found it on a trail or off a trail, I guess. It would have to be off the trail.
She was up there walking, around the trail, and dog possibly deviated from the trail. That's what alerted her to it. So she went over there and saw it and thought it looked weird.
Oh, okay. It depends on how
much it was up out of the ground.
It would have had to been out quite a bit if she was just like, that doesn't look like a normal bone, or that looks odd.
But luckily she took the time to stop and look at it closely, because she could have just not been paying attention and pulled her dog away and went on. Because had she not done that, then it wouldn't have led to the discovery. It's some kind of closure.
That they found them.
That they found them, rather than them all just still being missing.
It's always so heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking.
Especially when people just kind of dismiss them because they move around a lot. They're hard to get a hold of. I think families have a good idea of when something's wrong.
What's normal for their family member and what's not. Yeah. I feel like every case should be given priority because no matter what, nobody deserves that. They're still a human.
Just as much right to have that justice for them.
Absolutely. And so they are still looking at the case. No matter how insignificant you might think a tip might be, it could be a tip that breaks the case.
Yeah.
Cases are solved 20, 25, 30 years down the road, and we're at 15 years now.
Yeah.
If anybody has any kind of information, definitely call the Crime Stoppers number or the task force. So what do you think? Let us know in the comments below.